Welcome to King Fahd International Airport in Saudi Arabia, where walking from one end to the other would take you almost 90 minutes. This place handles more people daily than live in most cities, and building it required moving more earth than digging the Panama Canal. But here's what makes this even more incredible. This isn't just some weird record holder. This is what every major airport will look like by 2040. The world is changing fast, and this massive airport shows us exactly where we're heading. As more people fly than ever before, airports can't just get busier. They have to get bigger, much bigger, and King Fahd International Airport proves that humans can build at a scale that seems almost impossible. Let's start with numbers that will hurt your brain. This airport covers 776 square kilometers. That's 3 times bigger than Monaco, which is an entire country. It's 200 times bigger than Vatican City. To put this in perspective, you could fit 15 Central Parks inside this airport and still have room left over. The Vatican could fit inside this airport 200 times. Monaco, which most people think is tiny, could fit 3 times over. Even Singapore, a major city-state with millions of people, is smaller than this single airport. When you really think about it, that's absolutely crazy. If you tried to walk across the entire property, you'd need to pack lunch. It would take you longer than walking across most major cities. The terminal buildings alone are so far apart that they use shuttle buses just to get passengers between them. And we're not talking about a quick ride. These shuttles cover distances that would be considered crosstown trips in most places. But size isn't just about bragging rights. This scale creates challenges that no other airport has ever faced. How do you manage passenger flow across an area this massive? How do you coordinate baggage systems that span distances longer than some subway lines? How do you even clean a place this big? Construction of King Fahd International Airport was like building 10 major cities at the same time. The amount of soil they had to move was equivalent to building 10 of the world's tallest skyscrapers. But instead of going up, they spread it across an area larger than most people's home countries. The logistics alone should have been impossible. At peak construction, this project employed over 100,000 workers daily. That's more people than live in many major cities. Coordinating that many workers across such a massive area required technology that didn't even exist when they started planning this airport. They had to build their own concrete plants on site because transporting that much concrete from outside would have been impossible. They created their own power systems, water treatment facilities, and even temporary housing for workers. It was like building a small country from scratch, which makes sense because that's basically what they did. The engineering challenges were unlike anything the world had seen. Traditional airport design completely breaks down at this scale. You can't just make everything bigger and expect it to work. They had to invent new ways to move people, new systems for baggage handling, and completely new approaches to airport security. Managing an airport this size requires technology that seems like science fiction. The baggage handling system alone processes millions of bags using automated tracks that stretch for miles underground. These systems move bags at speeds that would make most city subway systems jealous. The passenger management systems track hundreds of thousands of people daily using smart sensors, artificial intelligence, and real-time data processing. Every single person walking through this airport is part of a digital system that monitors traffic flow, predicts bottlenecks, and automatically adjusts everything from escalator speeds to air conditioning. The airport's smart systems manage more data every day than most countries process in a month. They track everything from which bathrooms are getting crowded to how long security lines are getting in real time. This isn't just impressive technology, it's necessary technology. Without these systems, an airport this size would collapse into chaos within hours. Even something as simple as announcements becomes incredibly complex at this scale. The airport uses location-based audio systems that can deliver different messages to different areas simultaneously. A passenger in Terminal 1 might hear boarding announcements, while someone in Terminal 3 hears weather updates, all managed by AI systems that never sleep. Every single day, King Fahd International Airport operates like a medium-sized city. During peak hours, passenger flow reaches numbers that most airports only see during their busiest days of the year. We're talking about processing more people per hour than most sports stadiums can hold. The baggage systems work like underground cities. Miles of conveyor belts move millions of bags through tunnels that stretch further than most subway systems. These systems never stop. They run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, moving bags at speeds that would terrify you if you were riding along. Ground transportation coordination is another level of complexity entirely. The airport manages more buses, taxis, and shuttle services than most major cities. They have their own traffic control systems just for ground vehicles because normal traffic management completely breaks down at this scale. Emergency preparedness at King Fahd requires planning for scenarios that most emergency services never consider. They have to be ready to evacuate populations the size of major cities. Their emergency response teams are larger than the entire fire departments of most countries. The airport employs more people than some small countries have in their entire workforce. These aren't just baggage handlers and security guards. They have their own police force, fire department, medical facilities, and even postal services. It's a complete city that happens to have airplanes. Building something this massive creates environmental challenges that no one had solved before. The airport's environmental systems manage sustainability at a scale that tests the limits of current technology. Their water treatment facilities process more water daily than many major cities. The landscaping alone covers areas larger than most national parks. They operate their own nurseries to supply the millions of plants needed to keep this place looking green. These aren't small gardens. We're talking about agricultural operations that could feed small towns. Energy management at this scale required completely new approaches. The airport's power systems could supply electricity to cities with populations in the hundreds of thousands. They've invested heavily in renewable energy because traditional power sources simply couldn't handle the demand efficiently. Waste management becomes a logistical nightmare when you're dealing with the waste output of what amounts to a major city that never sleeps. The airport processes more waste daily than most municipal systems, requiring specialized facilities and recycling programs that operate at scales most environmental engineers have never imagined. But perhaps the most incredible thing about King Fahd International Airport isn't the technology or the size, it's how they've managed to keep it human. Despite covering an area larger than many countries, passengers don't feel lost or overwhelmed. The design uses clever psychology and spatial planning to make impossible distances feel manageable. The airport's staff undergoes training that's unlike anywhere else in the world. Managing passenger service across such massive distances requires skills that don't exist anywhere else. These employees don't just work at an airport. They work in what amounts to a small country. Cultural considerations add another layer of complexity. This airport serves passengers from around the world while maintaining cultural sensitivity and religious accommodation at scales no one had attempted before. They have prayer facilities that could serve as major mosques, dining options that span every culture, and shopping areas that rival major city centers. The economic impact of this airport extends far beyond aviation. It's become a major economic center that employs more people than most major corporations. The surrounding region has been completely transformed, with new cities essentially built around supporting this massive infrastructure project. King Fahd International Airport isn't just impressive, it's prophetic. This is what infrastructure will look like in 2040. As populations grow and global travel increases, every major airport will need to think at this scale. The lessons learned here are being applied to mega projects around the world. The construction techniques developed for this project are now being used for massive infrastructure projects on every continent. The technology systems that manage this airport's operations are being adapted for smart cities worldwide. The environmental solutions are being scaled up for entire metropolitan areas. What's really mind-blowing is that this airport is still expanding. The current size, which already defies imagination, is just phase one of a larger plan. Future expansions could double the size, creating something that would rank among the world's largest countries boundaries by area. This isn't just about making airports bigger for the sake of being big. It's about reimagining what human infrastructure can accomplish. Every system at King Fahd International Airport had to be reinvented from the ground up because nothing this large had ever been attempted before. The sheer engineering complexity of King Fahd International Airport redefines what we thought was possible in construction and management. Traditional airport design principles completely fall apart at this scale. Every single system, from passenger flow to baggage handling, had to be completely reimagined. The structural engineering alone required innovations that didn't exist when they started planning. Supporting buildings across such massive distances requires foundation systems that behave more like small mountain ranges than traditional airport structures. The materials science involved in creating durable systems at this scale pushed the boundaries of what construction technology could achieve. Climate control for spaces this large requires systems that operate more like weather management than traditional air conditioning. The airport essentially creates its own microclimate, with different zones experiencing different environmental conditions simultaneously. Managing this requires meteorological expertise typically reserved for studying actual weather patterns. The coordination required during construction was unprecedented in human history. Imagine trying to manage 100,000 workers across an area larger than most cities, all working on interconnected systems that had to align perfectly. One small miscalculation could have set the entire project back by years. This airport represents more than just impressive engineering. It's a glimpse into humanity's future capabilities. The techniques and technologies developed here are already being applied to massive infrastructure projects worldwide. Smart cities, mega-transportation hubs, and even space infrastructure projects are borrowing innovations from King Fahd International Airport. The economic model proves that infrastructure at this scale can be sustainable and profitable. The airport generates revenue streams that most countries would envy, proving that thinking big doesn't just create impressive monuments, it creates economic engines that can transform entire regions. As global travel continues to grow exponentially, every major hub will need to think at this scale. The passenger volumes that seem impossible today will be routine by 2040. Airports that can't scale to these dimensions simply won't be able to compete. The environmental technologies developed here are being scaled up for entire cities. Water management systems, renewable energy integration, and waste processing at this scale provide blueprints for sustainable megacities of the future. Perhaps most impressive is that King Fahd International Airport works. Despite its impossible size and complexity, passengers move through smoothly, flights operate on schedule, and the whole system functions like a well-oiled machine. This proves that humans can build and manage infrastructure at scales that seemed impossible just decades ago. The airport processes more passengers daily than some countries see in tourism annually. The staff manages operations across distances that would challenge most military organizations. Yet somehow, it all works together seamlessly. This success opens doors to even more ambitious projects. If we can build and operate an airport larger than many countries, what else becomes possible? Mega cities, intercontinental transportation networks, and infrastructure projects that could reshape how humans live and travel. The next time you complain about walking through a normal airport, remember that somewhere in Saudi Arabia, there's an airport where your entire journey would be just a small corner of something much, much larger. King Fahd International Airport proves that the only limits on human engineering are the ones we accept. It's not just the world's largest airport. It's proof that we can build at scales that redefine what's possible. So the next time someone tells you something is impossible to build, just remember the airport that's bigger than most countries. Because if we can build this, imagine what we'll build next. What do you think infrastructure projects will look like in another 20 years? Will these massive scales become normal, or are we pushing the limits of what makes sense? Share your thoughts on whether this represents incredible progress or whether we're building beyond what we actually need.